into episode 296 of The Door Report on a lovely Monday evening, December 30th, 2024. Maybe our last Monday episode for a while, or are we going to stick with Mondays going forward?
Now that classes are over for me, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday works.
Okay. We're going to be a little...
So it's fluid.
Now that football season is over, keep your eyes peeled. We might be mixing up days that we're releasing episodes. We're going to try to work around basketball season. So right now, we would ideally be recording tomorrow night if it was not New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Because Vanderbilt is about to / just tipped off at home against New Orleans.
That is correct.
So we're sacrificing being able to watch that game and break it down to record episode 296. Hopefully, that's going to be a domination by Vanderbilt. Just like the last two
Lord
games.
willing and the creek don't rise.
Lord willing. But we will hit on that on segment 1. We also have the main bulk of this episode. I forgot to say, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. You can find them at www.ebay.com/str/615collectibles, or you can just search 615 Collectibles in the eBay search bar. Items include NFL team packs, individual cards, graded cards, and more. And remember, shipping is always fast and free. Trevor, we already talked about basketball a little bit. That will be segment 1. A little bit of news in the transfer portal. Absolutely nothing major.
Yeah.
So, of any kind. But the main meat and potatoes is going to be the Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, Birmingham Bowl recap.
Oh, yeah.
This is not going to be... So if everybody's tuning in, this is not going to be our full 2024 season recap.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be next week. And we have a very special guest joining us in Blake Fromang to assign grades to the season and evaluate the 2024 Vanderbilt Commodores. He joined us last year to recap.
He did. Yes, he did.
So we have to have him back now annually, and we'll be having him on more and more consistently as well. But last year, the title of the episode was 2024 or 2023 Vanderbilt football recap. Throw some D's on it.
Yeah, throw some D's on it. There were a lot of D's.
I think the grades will be slightly higher.
Throw some A's on that. Throw some A's on that.
That might be.
Before you said who the guest was, I was gonna I thought you were gonna pause and I was gonna interject and be like, and that guest is Clark Lee, but it's just Blake Fromang.
It's just he's gonna take offense to that.
I'm just kidding. I love Blake. I finally got to meet him this weekend. He was scared, didn't want to Oklahoma drill me. He saw me get in my stance and he got a little nervous.
Yeah, Blake was pissing down his leg.
He did. He had a little tinkle on them jeans.
Me and Trevor both met Blake in person for the first time. After numerous conversations on the Door Report.
After numerous high fives in the Star Walk when we were younger.
A lot of conversations over text. We finally met Blake. Blake has slimmed down significantly from his playing days.
Yeah.
However,
big boy.
He is gigantic.
He is bigger than I thought he would be.
So
he's a large fella.
When I met him, we dapped up and then gave a big old bear hug. My head, I'm 6 feet tall. My head comfortably rested right on his tit underneath his armpit.
Yeah.
Blake is a true 6'6", 6'7" guy. Truly. And then I was really thinking the numbers in my head. I'm about 6 foot. My girl's about 5'5"-ish, 5'4". I was like, this is how she feels.
Yeah.
This is the size equivalent. I'm like, you know what? I could snuggle up in this.
Yeah.
This is nice. Blake, I imagine he's a nice snuggler.
Yeah. I gave him a pat on. Gave him a pat on the belly, and I was like, dude. Never mind.
What?
Never mind. Let's keep going.
Feeling a little light in the haunches.
I just got back from the gym. All I've had is a Diet Coke. So.
All right. I don't know where that story was going, but it sounded a little sexual.
It was his upper thigh.
Oh, nice.
I was like giving him like a pat on the belly. It's his upper thigh.
Nice.
His wife looked at me disapprovingly. I had a couple of Guinnesses. TDR, baby.
What a hot start to episode 296. All right. Before we get into all that and much more, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes. It's now time for segment 1.
It is so big just for Vandy to be back in a ball game. It's just, I know it's not a great big bowl. It's not the playoffs, but it's the playoffs for Vandy because we've worked a long time for this and we deserve this. Clark Lee is fabulous. The team is fabulous. The city is behind us. They let us put goalposts in the Cumberland River a few months ago.
Welcome back into episode 296 of the Door Report. To start out, even though majority of people are joining to listen to our Birmingham Bowl recap, we're going to start it out with basketball. I already said Vanderbilt is playing New Orleans tonight. It will be last night when this is released.
Yep.
New Orleans is currently 344th in the KenPom. For whatever it means, KenPom has the projected score is 93 to 67. So another lesser opponent, we'll call it, for Vanderbilt. To recap what they did in the previous two games since we last recorded, Vanderbilt went out and handled business.
Yeah.
Exactly what we said we wanted to see. Starting out with the Citadel, Vanderbilt came out and just dominated.
Yeah.
I mean, from the opening jump, the final score was 105 to 53. Just a very spread out, all around good performance from Vanderbilt. I don't even know if it's worth digging into the details. Vanderbilt shot over 50% from three.
Yeah.
Shot over 55% from the field, shot over 80% from the free throw line. Exactly what you want to see. Another 100+ point performance for Mark Byington. That is so. I think it's already more 100+ point performances than we saw in the entire Jerry Stackhouse era.
It is.
I don't want to misquote.
No,
I think
it
I
is.
saw that stat.
It is.
So I know the competition hasn't been great. I keep reiterating that, because they are going to struggle in SEC play. We actually met a lot of people this weekend that listened to TDR, and a few actually kept saying, I love that you keep reiterating that. You and Trevor keep hitting on that do not press the panic button when they had SEC play. With that said, there were a lot of bad teams this Jerry Stackhouse-led program played.
That's exactly
and
what I
they
was
did
gonna
not put up 100 points. They did not dominate in this fashion.
A lot of them they didn't win.
Exactly. So this is what you want to see your program do, is the Vanderbilt Commodores against the Citadel and against Austin Peay, is you want to dominate. So I already read off the stats against the Citadel. Vanderbilt also came out, dominated Austin Peay.
Yeah.
Sorry, dominated your Govs.
Well, it's okay. I was there cheering for the Doors. I had no Austin Peay gear on. Yeah, it was a I was at both games. Both games were a bloodbath. Vanderbilt basketball continues to sort of look like, I mean, not sort of, they look like a wagon in non-con, but we'll see how that goes as we roll into conference play. But up to this point, man, hard to, I mean, you really have to nitpick this team to find anything to whine about. I feel like there are some like glaring, like obviously the 5 is still an issue, and people have hit on that ad nauseum, including us. But on court product, I mean, it's been fun to watch Vanderbilt basketball again. It's been a long time since I looked forward to going to Memorial Gym to watch Vanderbilt play basketball.
Yeah, they still have the same problems that we discussed before the season. We haven't done a full roster preview like we've done in previous years, just because football was actually taking up our attention justifiably for once. So the first time in TDR's history, we've had good football to talk about in November and December.
Yeah.
So that took up a little more of our time. But the issues are blatant. We pointed them out before the year. Our concerns were, number one, there's not a lot of size on the roster. You don't have a single true 5. Your 5s are Devin McLaughlin and Jalen Carey, who are 6'9" and 6'8", and they're more 4s.
Yeah.
And also we were concerned about defense. Early on, against lesser competition, defense seems to, my concern for the defense is lessened.
Yeah.
But they're going to play way better offenses. But that concern about the 5, that's going to be a problem.
Absolutely.
There's nothing that they could show me during this portion of the season that
would change that.
Yeah, that would change that. But everything else, shooting has slowly gotten better. That was one thing we pointed out, but we weren't concerned about because we said they have shooters.
Yeah.
They'll eventually start hitting shots. Against Austin Peay as a team, shot over 50% or shot over 60% as a team from the field, shot over 40% from 3 against Austin Peay as well. Hopefully that continues into New Orleans, because after New Orleans, another team ranked outside the KenPom top 300, then the gauntlet begins.
Yeah.
Then SEC play begins. Before we record episode 297, Vanderbilt will have their first in-conference SEC matchup against LSU.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say the wheels are going to fall off the wagon. I don't mean it that way, but reality is going to set in a bit.
Yeah.
Right now, I've seen Vanderbilt on some of those last 4N graphics, and that's great that they are getting that recognition. And I think that's where they potentially could be hovering throughout this year. All you have to do is basically go close to 500 in the SEC, and you'll be hovering on the bubble. Now, it's a very big.
I don't think you'll be hovering. I think you'll be in, because I looked at it, and from here on out, after tonight, all of Vanderbilt's games are going to be quad 1 games.
There you go.
The rest, that's crazy. Like, what we are witnessing, and I want to reiterate this too, guys, what we are witnessing with SEC basketball, I'm not old enough to remember this. You're not old enough to remember this, but those of us who are big into sports history, this is like 1980s Big East level basketball, what we're seeing with the SEC, like truly historic stuff. Vanderbilt, the rest of the way, all games are going to be quad 1. So I'm going to say it might be a hot take. I think you could go a game or two under 500. And you're still and
You're in the conversation.
You're in the conversation. Then you get to the tournament, and you could make your way into the tournament.
There is a path now. Vanderbilt has played themselves into SEC play mattering.
Yes.
And last year, literally, I know it's dumb, and of course Vanderbilt could have gone like 15-3 in SEC play and made the tournament, of course. But you went into SEC play last year during basketball season, this time of the year, and the season was over.
Yeah.
You already knew what was going to happen. Vanderbilt, I think, went 4-14 in conference last year, ended 9-23. The season story was written before conference play ever began. At least now we are discussing a team that has showed promise. Their competition, they played a few Q1 teams, a couple Q1 teams, performed okay.
Got a Q1 win.
We got a Q1 win, lost to Drake, who has turned out to be a hell of a basketball team.
Yeah,
I think they're still undefeated.
They're undefeated.
But we will see.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep saying we will see. Currently, Vanderbilt is up 21-9 over New Orleans, 5 minutes and 20 seconds into the game. So that's a good start for the Doors.
Hell yeah, go Doors.
That feels like enough basketball talk. We will have, of course, our season recap for football next week, and then we will be fully shifting into basketball talk.
Yeah,
that will be a majority of the discussion on every single episode will be basketball. So don't worry, boys on the hardwood, you will get your time to shine.
Promise.
It will be soon.
We promise.
Just keep on winning. All right. Before we go to an early TDR cocktail break, because we have a ton to discuss about the bowl game, there has been a slight bit of movement in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And I mean slight and ever so slight. The one player that has entered the portal last minute is Marlon Sewell.
Mm-hmm.
He has entered the portal as a graduate transfer safety.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? That was one not that I was like, oh, no, the sky is falling. Do you think that was a scenario that he looked around and said they have young talent in Dante Carter? You have Randon Fontenette coming back. You have the transfer safety from FAU. And he said, this is going to be a crowded safety room. I'm going into my last year of college football. I've got to go somewhere I can definitely see a lot of snaps. Or do you think this was he's seeing what he can get in the NIL portal or NIL fund from other schools?
I think it could be a little bit of both. I think a lot of what college athletes are doing right now in entering the portal is just sort of testing the market and seeing what they could get. So I think it could be both. As we've talked about, and as we get closer to football season next year, which is a while. But as things stand right now, the Vanderbilt secondary looks like it might be better than it was this year, next year. If you look at the pieces that Vanderbilt has returning, if you look at the pieces that they have acquired, the Vanderbilt secondary is going to be very good. I also think it could be, too, a case of a dude's put in 4 years with a program, grad transfer, wants to go somewhere else. Like you said, get more playing time. I think both are probably true. I think probably looking around at the safety room, the safety position, and seeing how crowded it is, I think that more than the NIL. But also, man, I think Marlon Sewell is a good safety. I think he played really well in the Birmingham Bowl. And I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know if it'll be Power 4, G5, but I think where he goes, I think that team is going to get a very, very good free safety. I mean, that dude is a traditional headhunter at safety.
Yeah, Marlon Sewell is one of two players that have entered the portal that I went, might have liked to have him back. And not even that it's a devastating loss, but Gunnar Hansen, he said, might have liked to have him back. And then Marlon Sewell, wouldn't have minded having more depth than a safety room. You can never have too much depth.
With that leadership. Like, that dude's a captain. Like, he was voted captain. I remember when he announced last year he was coming back, I thought, wow, that's a big guy to get returned.
But if there is a place that Vanderbilt can lose a piece, it's out of the safety room.
Yeah,
you also have Carson Lawrence, the highest rated recruit in your class of 2024, coming in. He could close to a top 200 national player, 4-star.
He might start.
Yeah, he's the type of guy that can come in, maybe not start, but similar to Dante Carter, and play significant snaps as a true freshman.
I think he's the truth. I'm saying this right now. I think that kid could start.
It's amazing to say that safety room might be just as good or better this year, and you lost probably your best defensive player out of that safety room in CJ Taylor.
Lost maybe one of your best players on the entire team, both sides of the ball.
That just shows how well at that position on paper, how well Clarkley, Barton, Simmons have addressed the roster at that position. There are places you could say they haven't addressed it well. We can get into that more when Blake joins in the receiver room and as we discussed it during the offseason, but that's about all the news of leaving Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt also had a player that played significant snaps in the bowl game, and Jeffrey Ugo.
Yep.
He'd already entered the portal, but suited up anyway. Shout out to Ugo.
That's something I want to say, too. Shout out to him. Randon Fontenette didn't play. A lot of people are like, why is he not playing? He was sick, so he suited up.
That's reported.
But it was reported that he was sick. And I want to say, dude, shout out to Jeff Ugo. Played damn good football that game. Jeff Ugo played really well. And I'm going to get on my soapbox. In an era of the transfer portal to where he really had no business playing this game. Like, playing this game benefited him nothing, but risked him a lot in terms of he could have been injured, something could have went wrong. And regardless, he still played that game and was a huge impact player. So just as a college football fan and as a Vanderbilt fan, that's something that I really admire. And you can say that about a lot of guys. Devin Lee did that. Taco Wright, but like Jeff Ugo, like that's a dude that I want to salute. That if he didn't play that game, nobody could have looked at him and been like, "Screw you!" Like, I don't know if I would have played that game if I was him.
And the reason that his is even more significant is Jeff Ugo clearly already knew where he was going prior to the bowl game. He committed immediately, I think, the next day to Coastal Carolina.
Yeah,
so he'll be playing on that aqua field, very interesting colored field at Coastal Carolina.
It kind of hurts my eyes.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No, but like not like I think it's ugly. Like it legitimately, like looking at it, I'm like,
no,
I get a headache.
I don't like it. Boise State's I like. That one is it's a lot. It's a lot going on.
Eastern Michigan's bad. The gray.
Oh yeah, I don't like
that's
that
the
either.
worst.
Yeah, Boise State did it. We can just leave it with Boise State.
I agree.
I think that's fine.
Yeah,
but shout out to Jeffrey Ugo, and I think that's a testament to Clarkley and the program in general.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good sign. There are there's a lot of players, like you can point to Cam Ward at Miami. That was an NFL situation, maybe a little bit different.
Yeah.
There's just a lot that you've seen where players didn't play. It's cool to see Vanderbilt's players play and do it the right way. And now you're going to see how the portal can be positive.
Yeah.
In Vanderbilt's fan base in general, different than other SEC fan bases, universally pretty positive with their players.
Pretty easy on their players.
Yeah. So like when Mike Wright transferred, he did it the right way. Nobody had negative things to say about Mike Wright.
He was the game Saturday.
Yeah, just a mutual parting of ways. I think that will be the case for almost every single one of these guys that have transferred out. I think every Vanderbilt fan wants to see Ugo succeed, wants to see Taco succeed, wants to see those guys do well. So at least Vanderbilt this offseason, and I'll probably be yelling the absolute opposite next offseason. This offseason, the portal has been done right in Nashville.
Yeah.
Clarkley and Barton Simmons, that is a shout out to them. They have lost no major key pieces, and they have brought in multiple key pieces.
Yeah.
Have they addressed every single issue to the upteenth degree that I would like to see addressed? No.
Yeah.
I would like to see another playmaking running back. I would like to see playmakers on the outside at the wide receiver positions. I would like to see another depth piece, maybe on the edge or in the interior of the defensive line, maybe another corner. But they've addressed a lot of those places. They got a corner in Jordan Matthews from Tennessee. They addressed the safety. They addressed the defensive line with the transfer from Liberty, as well as Keanu Coote. They've addressed with some offensive line transfers. They got Chance Fitzgerald and Trent Hudson at the wide receiver position. They've addressed a lot of the needs. So I've seen some criticism of saying Vanderbilt hasn't done well. I'm like, they have a top 25 transfer portal class. They've addressed a lot of needs, and most importantly, they've lost no significant pieces. And I think more than anything, it's the losing no significant pieces part that's so key in evaluating how Vanderbilt has done.
Yeah.
And the biggest rulings in all of it is Diego Pavia is back and Eli Stowers is back.
Yeah.
Those two guys are bigger than anything that they've picked up in the portal. That is, your team has a chance next year no matter what.
Yeah.
But so far I've seen mostly positive, but I've also seen some criticisms. And I just want to say, has it been an A+? No. Has it been a B+? Probably. I would say a B or B+ in the transfer portal.
Well, also, like, don't forget, we have another portal in the spring.
Yep.
Like, I get what fans are saying, because I'm right there with you. I would like to see another running back, and I would like to see some more wide receivers. And you can never have too many guys on the edge, but like, it's gonna open up after spring ball again. Like, it's not over at all. Like, there's still another cycle to where there's going to be quality guys in the portal, and so there's another opportunity to address that.
And it's good we're filling in a little bit more on segment one. I didn't just want to go straight to a TDR cocktail break, and we'll discuss this more during the offseason and as the build up to spring. But I feel like Vanderbilt did a good job with a mixture of former 4-star and 5-star guys that got lost in the shuffle at bigger programs. That's Coutts an interesting example, but Chance Fitzgerald, wide receiver from Virginia Tech, former 4-star, I think a local kid.
Yeah, Nolensville High School.
That's a good example of a 4-star that got lost in the shuffle. Jordan Matthews, cornerback from Tennessee,
kind of got lost in the shuffle.
4-star that got lost in the shuffle. And they also did a good job of bringing in guys, and I'm forgetting the name, dude with the white dreadlocks from FAU.
C.J. Hurd.
C.J. Hurd. That's a guy that overperformed at a lower level school they brought in. The defensive lineman from Liberty. I have a highly rated guy. I think the number 4 overall interior defensive lineman.
Oh, you mean offensive lineman?
Offensive lineman. Yep, offensive lineman. That's what I meant.
Yeah, that's going to be your starting center.
He was a number 4 or the
Jordan
number 4 interior offensive lineman, according to either 24/7 or On 3 in the entire transfer class.
Pro Football Focus.
Yeah. Okay. So they have a mixture of those guys, and that's what I wanted to see. And they also brought in like Trent Hudson from New Mexico State,
Gunnar Givens from Virginia Tech.
So that's another guy. So they've got a good mixture. I saw people saying, "Oh, I don't want these washed up guys that couldn't get on the field." I'm like, they have both. That's what you want. You want to see a mixture of those freak athletes that just couldn't see the field, and then you want to see those overperformers at the lower level schools.
Yeah.
I think overall, the overperformers at the lower level schools will be a majority of your key contributor depth guys. And then I think those guys that fell into the rotation at an Alabama or at a Virginia or at a Virginia Tech, those are the guys that have potential to be stars. And those are going to be hit on 1 out of every 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And so that's where I say I love the mix that I've seen. So I am very high on what they have done this offseason. They've shown me that the funds are real.
Yes.
Granted, they didn't have to land a quarterback in the class, so that doesn't really show you the depth and breadth of those.
But you're still going to have to give him a pay raise.
But you've maintained the guys on your roster, and you've brought in some guys. Vanderbilt can compete and at least maintain their talent, which was a major concern about a year and a half ago. And a lot of like the narrative has shifted where it's like Vandy does have some money, and it's like we're taking that for granted now.
Yeah,
but it's like that was a real question. Where is
this
Vanderbilt?
Time last year the sky was falling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So right now the program and overall, and this is going to be a lot of what we talk about with Blake, where this program is not just from this previous season, but where its trajectory is pointing. You couldn't have done a more extreme 180 than Vanderbilt has done in a year.
Yeah,
it is incredible and phenomenal what Clarkley and specifically Barton Simmons has done reshaping this roster.
Yeah,
incredible job by them. And also, we got to give her a shout out. She was on the sideline. I could tell she didn't want to high five us, and she didn't, deservedly. Candace Story-Lee.
Yes.
Hell of a job so far.
She's like these guys.
But Candace Story-Lee, she's viewing her success and deservedly so, giving a middle finger to us and specifically me. Multiple times questioned a lot of her experience, and right now things are coming together.
Yeah.
So basketball is looking up, football is looking up, baseball, it's Tim Corbin's baby, we'll see. But as of right now, Vanderbilt athletics.
Yeah.
Pointing on an upward trajectory.
And you brought up Candace Story-Lee, somebody who we've been critical of and somebody who's turned it around. Now it is my time to give out my apology to Nick Rinaldi. This is not facetious in any sort of way. This is not sarcasm. I was going to do this. You can ask Jack Barton, Nick, and the other Nick Rinaldi, and Nick Lazinski. If you don't believe me, you can ask your boy Jack Barton. I told him this on the phone leaving the Birmingham Bowl. I go, I was very wrong about Nick Rinaldi. I crapped on Nick Rinaldi a lot last year, and I think probably even some this year. And he has turned out to be not just a depth piece, which that's not a knock, but not a depth piece, but a legitimate weapon in that linebacker group in terms of what he can do rushing the quarterback and in terms of what he can do in pass coverage. I mean, that's a hell of a linebacker, and that's a hell of a football player. So, Nick Rinaldi, I apologize. I do not know ball.
Trevor had to eat a little crow.
I love eating crow. Yeah, dude, Nick Rinaldi, dude, dance on my grave. Nick Lazinski, dance on my grave. Like, Nick Rinaldi did follow me on Twitter, so I don't know if that's like a, hey, we're good, big dog, but I will eat crow. I do apologize.
Nick Rinaldi, dog. Dog. Langston Patterson, dog. A lot of dogs in the linebacking group. I already said him. You just missed it.
Oh, did I?
You heard it on the recording. You were barking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll see if anybody can hear it. I did say Brian Longwell. But anything else you want to add about basketball or the transfer portal?
I'm forgetting what the kid's name is, but it seems like it's a very real possibility the Vanderbilt is going to land that offensive lineman out of New Mexico State. Why am Isaiah?
I can't remember his name.
Oh my God! Yes, he can still commit.
There's an offensive lineman from New Mexico State who has entered the portal who has interest from Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
possibly. We'll look up his name and hopefully have it after.
Yeah,
what we were about to go to. So grab yourself a cold one. We'll hopefully have that name when we come back. Grab yourself a cold one or a warm one. We'll be right back after the TDR cocktail break. Welcome back from the TDR cocktail break, and welcome back into episode 296 of the Door Report. Trevor, we have the part of the episode that I've been looking forward to talking about.
Oh,
I'm sorry if that first part sounded like me and I don't think it did.
10 years in the making, brother. 10 years in the making.
I don't think the first part sounded like we were dragging through it.
No, I thought the first part sounded good.
But this is what me and Trevor were looking forward.
Yeah.
This is what me and Trevor are looking forward to talking about. All right. Now, we did promise you found the name of the offensive lineman.
Yes.
For New Mexico State.
Yes.
That potentially would be transferring to Vanderbilt. What is that name? And apologies if you're butchering the
I'm
pronunciation.
totally going to butcher his first name. Shiaz Pete. Shiyazzh. Pete.
Okay.
I'm going to just call him Big Pete.
Big Pete.
Big Pete.
Okay. So check out Big Pete. Shiaz Pete. Trevor spelled it for you. That's the potential offensive lineman, the one piece of the transfer portal news.
Sort of just kind of still gloating out there.
We had to wrap that up. So just like a great film,
yeah.
Trevor have to wrap up all loose ends. Actually, great films, do they? Or do they lose?
Sometimes it's the hero's journey
they
where
leave the proper amount of loose ends, but whatever. We like to close them up. All right. But the bowl game. Trevor, we went down to Birmingham. A lot of Vanderbilt fans traveled down to Birmingham. I went down Friday morning, took off work, left at about 6 a.m., got down early.
Yeah.
Came to the tailgate. Actually got to the tailgate before you.
You did. Yes, you did.
Saw Jalen, King of Vanderbilt Twitter.
King of Vandy Twitter.
Get interviewed by a local news crew. Miss Kitty, godmother of Lot 2.
The GOAT.
TDR, showed on television. They did not use Jalen's interview.
Not on television?
I don't think
so.
But they did use Miss Kitty's.
Miss Kitty, yes.
So, but a great time down in Birmingham. UAB playing at a UAB/MLS stadium.
/USFL stadium.
Yeah. Great venue. Great spot.
Honestly, very nice football stadium.
Outside of the one part I wanted to add, you do not have any idea how good Vanderbilt's speaker system is. until you have entered a stadium
Oh.
like UAB's. Conservative. It sounded like they were trying to play audio for the game off speakers that we use in the lots for our tailgates.
It's like they played it on their phone and just put it up to the microphone.
There was zero bass. So when the teams played their hype up videos beforehand,
Yeah.
or they were played, there was also zero music in between downs and during timeouts. That was very odd. I didn't even notice it until my dad pointed it out, and I was like, "That's why it feels kind of like a high school game."
Yeah,
you could just hear the band. So everything about that stadium was great. I had some pulled pork barbecue nachos were great. Everything about the stadium was great. However, Vanderbilt fans, there have been, and I've personally complained about the speaker system multiple times in the past. I didn't know how bad it could be.
Yeah.
So this past season, I said there would be video board or speaker issues. There were none.
The speaker was awesome this year.
Vanderbilt Stadium and the new upgrades, the video, and it will be even better when they add the new video board in the south end zone.
Yeah.
It's going to be incredible. The speaker system, everything. Thank you, Vanderbilt,
Yeah,
because
thank
UAB invest about $1 million more. And I know you did shut down your football program about a decade ago.
Yeah.
But everything was great outside the speaker system.
Yeah. Another thing, too, that I do have a qualm with is whenever we went to the rain delay, I was fiending for water. I thought I was going to die of dehydration.
That was a timing issue.
They shut everything down. I was like, I was talking to somebody, I was like, dude, I get shutting down beer at the start of the fourth quarter. Totally get that. But, like, don't shut, like, if folks need water.
I think we
I couldn't find water.
It was, I won't blame them too harshly for that. I get it. I 100% get it. But it was under 10 minutes left in a blowout game. And I think they were shutting things down in under 10 minutes. And they saw that coming and shut it down. They did have, I will say, to defend UAB's home stadium, they did have a very cool feature, which I would like to see at different stadiums. I didn't use it, but it was a gigantic water cooler thing by the entrances.
Yes.
Like a huge water cooler.
I ended up finding one of those.
Yes. That
no
was
paper cup. I just.
Vanderbilt. Think about adding that. That was pretty great. They do allow you to bring in the water bottles now.
Well, Vanderbilt has water fountains.
They do. Yes, they do.
Yeah. So, like, there's been times I've just filled up my water.
That's what I've done as well.
So, yeah, shout out to Vanderbilt.
I just spilled beverage on my hoodie. Oh, well.
Oh, it's okay. It's washable.
It's corduroy.
But overall, man, I thought the bowl venue was actually very nice.
It was a great bowl game experience. I did attempt, me and my father and my brother drove down, and we were thinking we picked up some McDonald's breakfast, about a 3.5 hour drive, and said, we're going to go put our name in at a couple restaurants early, hopefully get a spot. Immediately go over right when they open at 11, line out the door, hour and a half to 2 hour wait. We're like, it's going to be tight. Maybe we can make it. Didn't even move up in line. Ended up just eating some barbecue nachos in the stadium. So plan better than us.
Yeah.
Do not try to go to a restaurant even within a half-mile vicinity of any bowl game venue.
Yeah.
So a little inexperienced in bowl game attendances, but learning our lessons and hopefully many more in the future.
Hey, yeah. Me and my father drove up Thursday night. Met the boys at a Irish pub. I saw a guy actually get his ID taken in front of me because he was using a fake. They ID'd my father. My father is 66 years old, so that made him feel really good about himself. Went in, had some drinks with the lads, got to meet Blake for the first time, saw Boston George. My dad does not drink. My dad does not smoke, but Miller was insisting my father take a shot. and he kept saying, no, I won't take a shot. And I'm like, Miller, I'm not playing. Like, I've never seen him take a sip of alcohol in my entire life. And I was like, do you want like a shot of like club soda so like you could feel involved? He's like, no, son, I'm fine. And he just stood there and he talked to Blake and Andrew Jelks about old Vanderbilt stories, and he was in hog heaven.
We got to talk about alpha big dog energy that Trevor's dad sends off. Old Tommy pulled up to that game. Everybody else bundled up for the weather. There's different alpha dog energy. I saw people in different. I had a poncho on. I'll say it. Different people in different waterproof fits, different things. Your father just pulled up in shorts. He just said, fuck it. Shorts.
He goes, fuck it, we ball.
My dad, on the way down.
Tommy goes ball up top.
My dad was joking like, you think Tommy's going to wear the shorts? And then we pulled up. He was wearing the shorts and the Converse. And I was like, the funnier part is that he's rocking Converse and white socks. And it's like, I know he's not going by trends. The trends have circled back to Tommy.
Yes.
He is now what style is, but he just never changed.
I swear to God, every Christmas, every year, since I was a little child, my dad only wanted one thing: white high top Converse. Not the Chuck Taylors, though. Not the Chuck Taylors, but like the 1980s, like what Larry Bird and Magic Johnson wore Converse. And that is that's like his nice shoe.
And now people look at him and are like, damn, he's in style.
Somebody
Like, no,
commented
Tommy
on my
is the style.
Somebody commented on my Instagram post that they said Pops dripped up, and I was like, that's just how he dresses.
He just is dripped.
He did. It was like 50 degrees, windy and rainy, and he's like, shorts.
Young kids are desiring to have the aura and drip of Tommy. You're styling yourselves after it. He just has it. It's just in his closet.
I got dressed that morning at the hotel. He's like, no shorts, son. I was like, yeah, he's like, what a bitch.
All right, now to the actual game. We had a great time meeting everybody. Put a lot of faces to Twitter accounts. It was incredible. A lot of burner accounts identified themselves. It was great.
I will say, funny story. Brett DeLawyer pulled up, and I was like, I knew who he was. Like, I knew what he looked like. I was like, what a big dog! What a big dog! And Jalen and Joseph lean over to me, like while we're all talking. They go, who is that? I go, oh, my bad. Guys, this is Brett DeLawyer. They're like, Brett DeLawyer.
A lot of that. I met Lou Adipa.
Lou Adipa, known dog, yeah. Lou Adipa.
Met a lot of good Vanderbilt fans. It was a great time. But on to the actual game. Vanderbilt won by a final score of 35-27 for their first bowl game win since the 2013 season. First winning season in a decade since that same 2013 season. A lot of milestones and a lot of accomplishments from this team. We'll get into the actual full-on season accomplishments next week when we do our full season recap. But just this bowl game alone, Clark Lee, I don't want to get emotional or sappy about this, but this is a guy grew up in Nashville. Yeah, grew up probably cheering as a Vanderbilt fan. Yeah, we don't have confirmation of that, but I'm assuming. Yeah, grew up locally here, fan of Vanderbilt. Walked on as a fullback to a Vanderbilt team, played underneath Bobby Johnson, saw this team struggle from afar, probably in the back of his mind in a pipe dream. It was like one day when he started coaching, said, one day I'm going to be the head coach of Vanderbilt football, and I'm going to bring them back and bring them to points of glory they haven't seen. And now he's sitting here hoisting the trophy. I know people like to shit on it. I'm going to go on this rant after I talk about Clark Lee because I have to go on a rant about college football in general.
Let's go.
Clark Lee hoisting a trophy of a one bowl game, first winning season in a decade, and adding his list to a very, very short list of names of Vanderbilt head football coaches that have won a bowl game. Art Guppy, 1955, Bobby Johnson, James Franklin, Clark Lee. That's it.
And you want to know the funny part about it? That first ever Vanderbilt Bowl win, the Peach Bowl, the Birmingham Bowl was the 50th year anniversary of that. That's a little tidbit. The Vanderbilt won on the 50th year anniversary of their first ever bowl appearance and bowl win.
But this leads me to a rant that I want to go on, and it requires context because just putting into a tweet sounds dumb in a way because it lacks what I'm trying to say. Yeah. What I was most afraid of with the college football expanded playoff and the 12-team playoff, a lot of people were concerned, is the regular season going to mean less? Our conference championship's going to mean less. In general, I didn't really have that concern. I was like, no, in-season games are still going to mean a lot. All this is still going to mean a lot. My concern was college football and why it is so great. And I haven't really thought this rant through, so I hope it makes sense. But college football, why it is so great is every individual game and scale of success and accomplishment matters and should be celebrated. And nobody used to shit on that. Yeah. If you were a team that went from 2-10 to 7-6, you celebrated the hell out of that. If you were a team and you were 5-4 going into a game and you beat your rival, you celebrated that and nobody shit on you for it. Now what I'm seeing, it's not just Vanderbilt. This is all stemming from Vanderbilt posting the picture of Pavia smoking a cigar after the Birmingham Bowl with with the tag aura
Yeah.
on it, and some Tennessee fans and other LSU Auburn fans getting a hold of it and shitting on Pavia for it, saying it's the Birmingham Bowl. It's the Birmingham Bowl. Sit down, get a job. And it's like, you should be able to celebrate success outside of the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And it's not just Vanderbilt. I'm seeing it across all bowl games. Like Missouri won their bowl game today in great fashion. Brady Cook went out with a win, his final game of his career. He should be able to celebrate that. Missouri was not in the CFP. They won the Music City Bowl against Iowa. But they should be able to celebrate that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be lesser because we have a 12-team playoff now. And that's what I'm hitting on is now I feel like anything that's not a part of the 12-team playoff is just like, why are you celebrating this? It's the damn this bowl. It's the damn this bowl. And to an extent, I do agree with that. It's like, yes, you're playing in the Gasparilla Bowl. It's like, it's not the end of the world if you lose it. But you should be able to celebrate it if you win it.
Yeah.
And it's like, celebrate it. You ended your season on a high note. You ended with a winning record for the first time in a decade. Diego Pavia started out with 0 Division I offers. Started out with no FBS offers. Played in JUCO at the New Mexico Military Institute. Transferred to New Mexico State with no guarantee of a job. Was the Offensive Player of the Year. Upgraded. Played in the SEC. Beat the #1 team in the country with nobody believing in him while he said it all week was going to happen. Led Vanderbilt to their first winning season. Won the Birmingham Bowl. Set a record for most touchdowns accounted for in a bowl game for the program. Let him celebrate.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. It's not but Pavia is a good example, and this Vanderbilt team is a good example, but it's not just Vanderbilt. That's why I'm throwing in Brady Cook and Missouri, and it's all these other teams. No, I saw a tweet that quoted and said, nobody hates college football more than college football fans.
Yeah.
And that's like, it just because another team is celebrating or whatever, it doesn't mean you have to shit on it.
Yeah.
I love shitting on teams when they're down and when things are going bad, but it's like when they're celebrating, I don't just inject myself and say that accomplishment's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, no, just I don't know. Because I do like talking shit back and forth. So I don't like to sound like a bitch like that.
Yeah.
I do like it. But at the same time, I don't want to see college football turn into it only matters if you make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid. It's I want to see teams that have good seasons like Liberty or something. They should celebrate if they win their bowl game against a Power 4 team.
Absolutely.
They should. Missouri should celebrate winning their bowl game. That is an accomplishment. So that's all I'm getting at. That's what makes college football great. Is it's not just about winning the Super Bowl. There are levels of accomplishment and things you can build on. There was a stat. I was listening to a podcast that was talking about it. There was a stat from a long time ago that it was like for a period for 8 straight years, every national champion in the prior year had won their bowl game. And so bowl games used to be like a precursor for success.
Yeah.
Now the transfer portal has changed that for a majority of teams, but with a team like Vanderbilt, I don't think bowl games can bring negative momentum to an offseason.
No.
I do think they can bring positive momentum. And that's why I don't think losing a bowl game sets you back at all. But I think winning a bowl game can push you forward.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm like, fuck the haters, Diego. I know he has no problem saying that. I don't need to encourage him. And he just feeds on that. So I just had to go on that rant. And also, I would be very careful talking underneath Diego's post, because if there is one guy, and as Vanderbilt fans, I don't know if this is going to go in a good direction or a bad direction, but that is Diego Pavia's fuel.
Yeah.
Is people just hating on him. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be, they can be belittling him.
Yeah.
They can be whatever it is, but that's his fuel, man. He's a different type of dog. So fans, be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful. And it could blow up and Pavia can go off the deep end. That's the other side of it. So I'm not saying it's going to be good, but be careful, SEC fans that are talking. There's a lot of talk, and Alabama fans had a lot to say beforehand about our midget quarterback.
Yeah.
And, so I would just be a little careful. He's proven every single hater, including partially, I wasn't really a hater, but he's proven everybody wrong every step of the way. And I'm not going to doubt him at all.
Yeah. I want to say too, man, I absolutely agree. And I think too, whenever you look at those college fan bases that have something to say, it's always the ones that seasons didn't end the way they wanted to. It's the one that Tennessee got blown out on national TV. Auburn couldn't make it to a bowl game. And two, I hate, and I'm right there with you. I have always hated the idea that they're like, oh, well, there's too many bowl games. Like, they don't mean anything. Try to tell me that this Birmingham Bowl did not mean something to me.
And to Georgia Tech.
Yes.
Go to that game. Be in there in person and tell me that game
they did not want to win. Tell me
to
that
both
game.
Fan bases, to teams.
Tell me that game doesn't mean something to Will. Tell me that game doesn't mean something to our dads. Tell me that game doesn't mean something to those players that played. Like, and then it's like you said with Mizzou. Go to Brady Cook and tell him that game doesn't mean anything. And watch the pushback. Go to any other fan base that won a bowl game and tell them that it was meaningless. And they'll spit in your face because you're wrong. Bowl games and championships, at the end of the day, it is still an accomplishment. Like, and let's talk about hypocrisy, like with Tennessee fans. You guys gloated the hell out of those Music City Bowls. You guys gloated the hell out of those Tax Slayer Bowls. And you want to talk about, oh, bowl games are meaningless. They weren't meaningless for you whenever you played Iowa just last year. That Music City Bowl in 2016, that wasn't meaningless to you. So don't come here and play that nonsense with me. Because if you were in that position, you would gloat too. It's just weirdos on Twitter. And I know that's almost me calling the kettle black, the pot calling the kettle black. But it's just weirdos on Twitter that feel bad about how their season ended.
Well, and here's the part that nobody will say out loud, and then we can move on to actually discussing the game. The part nobody will say out loud is, regardless of what account it is, and it can come from anyone, some of this is self-shot. So, because I tweet a lot about sports, but specifically the ones that have like your account Hack Squad, it's not really a burner. Because your face
because
is
my
attached to
face
it.
and
It's-
my government name is attached to my Twitter.
Yeah, so yours is not what but almost every single one of those accounts that are hating or commenting on whether it's Vanderbilt or whoever it is, every single one of those dudes are overweight by 30 to 50 pounds. They are balding, receding hairline. They are married to an ugly fucking woman. I've looked at them. If they have their name attached, oh my God, I'd kill myself. Or they haven't felt the touch of a woman in a year.
Yeah.
And so that's the part I constantly have to remind myself of, and not constantly, because I'm actually very good now about just not reading comments on anything.
Yeah.
Because I just form my own opinions. But I do still dig into the comments occasionally. So
I'm
can't
a little
help myself.
piggy. I love being in the mud. I love reading
But
comments.
you just have to remind, there's a reason that these accounts are not attaching a face or a name to them, because they know their takes wouldn't hold water, and they know they're ugly.
Yeah.
And so if they liked themselves, liked their lives, liked who they were, they'd be tweeting these things with their name attached to them and their face attached to them. Like how I tweet my opinions. So, and I don't even like my life. So there's that. And I hate myself. So that tells you how bad these guys feel about their lives. But getting to the actual,
it's like there's nothing you could say on the internet that would hurt me.
You're
like,
buddy, I sit in my room and say those things to myself all
you're
night.
like, you would be shocked at the things I call myself.
Yeah, you have no idea.
I hate myself when I look in the
It's
mirror.
just like a lot of dudes that like either hang their hat on their high school sports career or really wish they would have made a high school team.
Yeah.
It's a nice mixture of both. I'm like, good God, man.
It's a lot of them like, dude, just go be with your family.
Yeah,
go
with your family.
Go be
dog.
it. Go
Or
like
go talk about your own school.
yeah.
Like I get talking back and forth when it's game week.
Yeah.
Or when it's something mentioned or directly advised, but that's very odd to me when it's just out of the blue.
Oh, see, I do that though.
But we're rent free.
That is, I'm not like one of those guys. Like these guys are like, oh, I don't ever think about Vanderbilt. We tweet about Vanderbilt constantly. I do own it, and I'm like, no, Tennessee does live rent free in my head. Like I think about you guys all the time. Like I really think about how much I hate you guys all the time.
Eminem and 8 Mile. You're like taking away their insults before they can go at you.
Like you're like, oh, you're fat. I'm like, dude, I literally don't give a shit.
Number one, I would not describe Hack Squad as fat. I would not describe Trevor.
I'm a
as
big
fat.
boy. I'm 260.
No, Trevor's a big guy, but there's a difference in like you meet a fat guy and then you meet Trevor.
Yeah.
And you go, no, Trevor's built like a brick shit house.
Yeah.
This is a guy that's in the gym lifting very heavy weights. This isn't just a guy that's fat.
Yeah.
That's very big differentiation, I want to say, because you could not lift any type of power lifter that lifts heavy weight isn't slim down looking like the cover of Men's Health.
No, like I'm
That's
never
not how
gonna
that works.
have a 6-pack. Yeah.
I'm never gonna have a
Yeah.
six-pack again.
and
I'm
I have willingly made the trade of I am willing to have a belly on me if that means I can deadlift 600 pounds.
there you
And
go.
I'm okay with that. Some of you guys also just need to eat a cheeseburger. Like some of these guys, I'm like, some of you guys are small. If you wear a medium t-shirt, don't talk to me. If you wear a size medium, do not talk to me.
I will say I very much agree. I know the classic phrase is like victim weight is under 200.
I do do something.
I do differentiate and say victim weight's under 180 because I'm like I've worked myself up. I'm like if I was 200, that's I wouldn't look great at 200.
Yeah,
I would have to put on a little more weight, but I also don't wear a medium at all. More of a large / XL type.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, if you wear a medium, dude, lower your voice when you talk to me.
All right, let's get to the actual game. The Birmingham Bowl. Vanderbilt won 35-27. I don't even know if I said the final score.
You did.
But Vanderbilt won 35-27. Actually, a lot bigger of a margin than that final score makes it out to look.
It was kind of an ass kick.
In a way, and I say this with all love towards the performance Vanderbilt put out, it reminds me a lot of the final score in the Texas Vanderbilt game. And it wasn't even as close as the Texas Vanderbilt game was, but came down to an onside kick.
Yeah.
Late touchdown. Like that's kind of exactly what it wasn't really.
There was a chance.
Yeah, it wasn't that the team that was losing had the ball down one possession. They had an onside kick to potentially get the ball without enough timeouts left.
Yes.
That's a different type. So Vanderbilt was up 35-13 prior to the dreaded lightning delay that occurred with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And all of us,
7.
All of us went, you have got to be kidding me. Georgia Tech fans, actually, I was impressed. I'm going to shout out some of them. They were annoying and whiny bitches most of the time.
Yeah.
But a few of them stayed down 35-13 with 7 minutes left in the bowl game. So shout out to them. But mostly Vanderbilt fans remained during that break. It was a brutal wait. Thankfully, it resumed relatively quickly.
Yeah, it was only like a 30-45-minute break.
It may have truly been one of those games. If it went on for a couple hours, they may have just called Vanderbilt the winner.
And I would have hated that.
I would have hated it because I wanted to see it actually end.
I wanted to see them hold the trophy up and everything.
But the main complaints, I want to address these early, why I'm calling Georgia Tech fans whiny. I've never seen, and I will say we were in the stadium, so I know why they were whining.
Yeah.
But I've never seen, we have dealt with a lot of fan bases that whine about calls. And I always say, you think that there's a bias in favor of Vanderbilt, then I need to put you on some schizophrenia drugs.
Yeah. I got a piece of land to sell you in the Indian Ocean.
I got a bridge to sell you.
Yeah.
Because if there is one program you cannot say that about in the entire country, it is Vanderbilt, Rutgers, Northwestern. Like, there are a few programs that are fully immune of that. And one of those is Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So, but Georgia Tech fans were very upset about a couple calls. One of them was a face mask call against their defensive back. It was on Loic Fungee or against Loic Fungee. Their defensive back grabbed Loic Fungee's face mask off the line of scrimmage. Was a very obvious face mask call. Now, later on in the route, after he had gotten his face mask grabbed, it looked like a little bit later you could make the argument trying to regain his balance, whatever argument, but Fungee also grabbed the Georgia Tech cornerback's face mask after the Georgia Tech player grabbed Fungee's face mask.
Correct.
So they booed about that call because they called it on Georgia Tech and not on Fungee. But on the video board, they only showed where Fungee.
Yeah, they did not show the Georgia Tech.
So once I got on Twitter and saw the full replay, I of course was egging it on because I knew it was the right call.
I was standing, dude. I saw you do it, and I got a little bold. And then this was a bad play because I had a couple of interactions, but I stood on business. I was waving them on. I was like, yeah, great call, ref. Waving my hands, clapping.
But once I saw the video of it, because at first I went, oh my God, they called it on the wrong guy.
And I was like, are they going to reverse this?
Then I saw the video on Twitter and went, oh, so it was the right. But so number one, they booed that for about 2 quarters.
Yeah.
And I want to say that they were booing a call that at the most would have been offsetting penalties, replayed the down.
Yeah.
But 90 to 95% of the time, if it occurs first by the cornerback, unless it is a personal foul altercation, they're going to give full benefit of saying he was adjusting, was regaining balance. And maybe it was the case, maybe it wasn't. But even giving benefit, it was offsetting, replayed the down.
Yeah.
So that was number one, what they were so up in arms about. Number two, was a roughing the returner or whatever. What is the name of that penalty?
Kick catch interference.
Kick catch interference.
There was another play too after that.
Was it Lackey?
Jalen Lackey.
Jalen Lackey was running down, ran into the Georgia Tech punt returner before he had a chance to field the ball. Immediately, refs threw the flags. Looked very obvious in live. Then you saw the replay, and they even showed the replay on the video board of this one.
Yeah.
And clearly, and this is even the announcers when I watched it, I had a problem with what they were saying. So I got to address this.
Aaron Murray sucks.
Yeah.
I watched that game. I was like, this cat sucks.
I rewatched it. So that's why I'm commenting on this part. But so Jalen Lackey's running full speed and is clearly trying to like adjust his path and is going to run by the returner when he sees the fair catch or whatever. He gets slightly pushed in the small of the back. Without a doubt, the Georgia Tech's player's hand hits him in the small of the back. And the announcers were like, I didn't see an adjustment or an attempt to get out of the way. I'm like, that's really easy to say when you are watching from a booth in slow motion. Now go outside, run 60 yards at full speed, and have somebody slightly push you in the back, small of the back. See how your body reacts.
Yeah.
You're going to fly forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like any slight adjustment you made, you're going to fly forward. Any contact negates that penalty. That's the rule.
Yeah.
It's not you don't have to avoid any contact pushed into the defender negates it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, once again, that was the right call. The Fungi even give maybe should have been offsetting, but it was close. That was the two main calls they were so upset about.
Well, and the pass interference on their sideline,
which that was semi-questionable maybe, but he never got his head around.
He never played the ball.
Boxed out Cedric Alexander. So maybe you could say, but that was another coin flip. It wasn't some egregious. My whole point of
he pushed him out of bounds.
So my whole point of this is not ranting about like, was this right? Was this wrong? It's saying that these calls were not clear-cut, objective, bungled calls by the referees. These were tight, at best you could describe them coin flips of calls, and I think even a majority of them they got them right.
Yeah.
And there was another one that I don't hear brought up many times. Vanderbilt, while playing defense, got an illegal blindside block. Not on a turnover, no turnover, illegal blindside block that I've never seen a replay for.
Yeah.
Maybe it was.
You're like, guys, why would we block on defense?
No, maybe it was somebody way outside of the play just clocked somebody. But on the broadcast, I went back and rewatched, and I didn't see anything. And in person, they never showed a replay, and I didn't see it in person. That was a random 15-yard penalty. So, and at the end of it, I mean, granted, this doesn't show you because I always do argue context matters with penalties. And referees do have a ton of influence.
Yeah.
But this was not one of those that the referees. Vanderbilt beat Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt was up 35-13 and they beat them. And when you look at the end of the game penalties, Vanderbilt as a team had 8 penalties for 79 yards, Georgia Tech 9 for 95.
Yeah.
I know the context of them situationally. I'm not arguing that, but they were tight calls. And at the end of the day, Vanderbilt was up 35-13 with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Vanderbilt had 2 really bad back-to-back penalties, one of them being an unsportsmanlike conduct on Colby Taylor in the red zone, followed up by a offsides, and Georgia Tech still could only get 3 points. So also want to make a note, this is the difference between like loser virgin Virginia Tech or Georgia Tech fans and Chad Vanderbilt fans, is whenever Diego Pavia got the unsportsmanlike conduct for tossing the ball to the fan, instead of booing, we were all like, yo, that's sick. And we stood up and cheered for the flag. We're like, yo, that's awesome. So that's just the dichotomy of loser Georgia Tech fans versus Chad Vandy fans.
I would have booed on the PI call, even though I think it was a coin flip.
I would have booed on it.
But the Diego Pavia was truly him not thinking. I don't think he will ever do that again. He didn't throw it. He just flipped it.
It was still sick.
And he immediately went like, yeah.
It was still cool as hell.
Colby Taylor.
Oh,
gone.
God.
Thank God.
Lord have mercy.
He needs help.
And I've been a ride or die. Like, you can listen back on pods and check I have been a real supporter of Colby Taylor. At that point, I was like, this is unacceptable.
And Colby Taylor,
you can't let him play.
Colby
anymore.
Taylor did not come out for the second half.
He did not. No.
But the context of that penalty, basically, he got called for a defensive holding, arguing with the ref, was being taken off at the sideline, would not stop yapping at the ref. Even when he got to the sideline, coaches were pulling him back, would not stop talking. Eventually, the ref threw the flag.
Yeah.
And Clarkley got in his face, started talking to him. Coaches started talking to him. And it was like one of those where even as a Vanderbilt fan, it's how I know I haven't lost all objectivity.
Yeah, you're like, that's a flag.
I was watching that and I was mad at Colby Taylor.
I was mad. Yeah, I was
saying,
like, that's a flag.
The referee even showed restraint.
Yes.
Like he let him yap at him for 10 seconds.
He wasn't flag
minimum
happy.
before he threw that flag.
Yeah.
And it was like, at a certain point, I get being upset. I've got some of that inside of me about getting upset. You can't.
Yeah.
You just can't. And he's done it multiple times this season. And I don't believe Colby Taylor's back next year.
I don't think. I think he doesn't have another year left.
I don't know. But whatever it is, I don't think he will be back regardless.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Yeah.
Especially not coming back out for the second half. That tells me a lot.
But yeah. Speaking on Georgia Tech fans, this is the last thing I'll say. They also were weird. I had 2 interactions with Georgia Tech fans to where the lady behind me asked me to sit down. She goes, I know you're excited, but whenever you stand up, we can't see it. And I go, well, you can stand up too, right? And she's like, yeah, but this lady right here has a baby, so she can't stand up. And I go, well, she can look on the Jumbotron. And I go, I'm not sitting down on third down plays or big plays. And then another guy chirped at me. I chirped back. And he was like, why'd you say that to me? I was like, dude, if you're going to dish it out, you got to take it. And then he was leaving, and he's like, congrats on the win. I go, thank you. And he's like, I'm congratulating you. And I go, I know. I said thank you. And he left.
See, I was actually good. I didn't get in any altercation.
I was not on my best behavior.
See, for once, I was on good behavior. Trevor was not.
I was on bad behavior.
But overall, I will say I get the same complaints from Vanderbilt fans at Vanderbilt home games.
I've told Vandy fans I'm not sitting down.
Yeah, me too. But not in Section F. Section F is where the dogs sit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have gotten that, so I won't shit on Georgia Tech fans for that because I've gotten the same thing from Vanderbilt fans. See,
that's just like an old people
there's a
thing.
lot of common strands you can draw between Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt. So I will not. But let's get into the box score here. First, I will run through Georgia Tech stats, then I will go through Vanderbilt's. Haynes King actually had a very good game, but did have, I think, only his second turnover of the season.
Yes.
Or second interception of the season.
Yes.
Haynes King, 25 of 33 for 204 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Rushing, Jamal Haynes, 17 carries, 136 yards, 8 yards per carry. Haynes King, 11 carries for 9 yards. Vanderbilt did a very good job containing Haynes King on the ground and getting pressure, actually. They had a couple other backup running backs to get some play as well. Georgia Tech receiving, they were, of course, missing their main guy. But Abdul Jenna Jr., 3 catches, 34 yards. Jamal Haynes, 5 catches, 32 yards and a touchdown. Malik Rutherford, 3 catches, 32 yards. Chase Lane, 3 catches, 27 yards. Avery Boyd, 3 catches, 24 yards. And a bunch of guys with 2 catches and 1 catch for Georgia Tech. Overall, thought a very good performance on defense from Vanderbilt.
I thought it was a stellar performance. And I will say, Haynes is a hell of a running back. I like watching that kid run, and I've seen him on TV. I've actually watched like a few Georgia Tech games this year, and I knew even going into the season, like, this kid is a hell of a running back. That is a special, like, very talented running back that I think is going to have a long career in the NFL.
Yeah, Jamal Haynes is the type of running back, no offense to Cedric Alexander, that I want to see in Vanderbilt's offense. Very badly.
Very Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah, if Vanderbilt could add a guy like Jamal Haynes, man, this offense would hum. Getting to the Vanderbilt side of things, Diego Pavia, MVP of the bowl game, had a hell of a game.
Yeah.
He was incredible to watch. Diego Pavia, 13 of 21 for 160 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Also led the team in rushing, 17 carries for 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. Magical.
Yeah.
Incredible. Getting to the rest of it, Cedric Alexander, 13 carries for 32 yards. Quincy Skinner Jr., 1 carry for 22 yards on an incredible double reverse led by a Pavia lead block.
Yeah.
Junior Sherrill, 3 carries for 16 yards. Monty Jones, 1 for 4. Receiving, Eli Stowers, 4 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown, and a SportsCenter top 10 highlight reel play. I think it was number 3 on the SportsCenter top 10. Loic Fungi, 1 catch for 40 yards early in the game, also drew that big face mask penalty. Cedric Alexander, 3 catches for 31 yards. Cole Spence, 3 for 17 and a touchdown early in the game. Junior Sherrill, 1 catch for 10 yards, as well as a big play that went off his fingertips. Quincy Skinner Jr., 1 catch for 7 yards and a touchdown. On the defensive side of things, Nick Rinaldi led the team in tackles.
Nick.
and sacks and tackles for loss. Nick Rinaldi, 10 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Brian Longwell, 9 tackles. Maurice Hampton Jr., 7 tackles. CJ Taylor, 6 tackles. A bunch of guys was 4, 3, 2, and 1. Langston Patterson, 1.5 tackles for loss. Wataha, 1.5 tackles for loss and a sack. Miles Capers with the tackle for loss. And Corday Sidnor with a tackle for loss. Also on the turnover side of things, CJ Taylor with an interception. And I did not catch who forced the fumble. I think it was CJ Taylor as well.
I don't know. I know Aeneas picked it up.
Yeah, Aeneas recovered it. Aeneas DeCosmo recovered
well,
the
did it say somebody's on there?
No, it doesn't say forced fumbles, but I think it was CJ Taylor.
Okay.
Because I was making the argument at the end Diego Pavia deserved MVP, but there was an argument to be made that possibly CJ Taylor would have been the MVP as well.
Yeah.
CJ Taylor, hell of a way to close out an incredible career. Salute to him. Also good to see Quincy get in the end zone. But getting to the team stats, the main keys to the game that I pointed out beforehand, I know they're obvious, and I know everybody points to them. But Vanderbilt won the turnover battle, and Vanderbilt won time of possession.
They did.
So Vanderbilt possessed the ball for 31 minutes, 10 seconds. Georgia Tech, 28 minutes, 50 seconds. Vanderbilt had 0 turnovers. Georgia Tech had 2. That is a recipe for Vanderbilt to win football games.
Yep.
We overcomplicate it. It's real simple for this Vanderbilt team. The recipe to win was very, very, very simple.
Just play clean football.
I did have another key on mine that was about the kicking game. That did not come into play. That did not factor in. Georgia Tech's kicker knocked in a couple field goals. Brock Taylor didn't trot out once for a field goal. So I was wrong on that key, but I was right on my time of possession and turnover key. So I have to point out my rights and my wrongs. But overall, the final score doesn't reflect it. Vanderbilt dominated, especially in about a 8-minute stretch in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt turned that entire game on its head.
Yeah, the box score is a little bit deceiving because this really was an ass kicking. For all intents and purposes, Vanderbilt dominated this football game. And like you said, even whenever it got a little hairy late in the fourth, at least for me personally, it never felt like Vanderbilt was going to lose. It felt more annoying than anything, I think. But the whole time I was like, Vanderbilt's got this in the bag.
You have to jut in here with some basketball news. Vanderbilt is currently up 62-30. The only reason I'm jutting in is I was reading a group chat we have of Vanderbilt fans.
Yeah.
They were complaining about play of individual players. And then I was looking,
Jesus
oh, crap.
Christ, guys.
Oh, God. Is Vanderbilt in a tight game with New Orleans? And then I clicked on ESPN, and they're up 32. 16 minutes left in the second half.
What have we become?
What have I become? My sweetest friend. Everyone I know goes away in the end. God, that was beautiful.
That was a banger.
That was the PDR
Clip that chat.
Boom. All right.
Boom, boom, boom,
boom, boom. 5 big booms. All right. Now let's get to our 3 keys to the game.
Hell
Feels
yeah.
like a good transition. All right. I'll start out with mine because I've got at least 2 of mine written down.
Okay.
Number 1 probably will be one of yours. Diego Pavia is healthy. And this is a different offense.
That's my number 1.
I mean, yeah, good. So we can get it all out now.
Yeah. Show if you had any doubt in what Diego Pavia could do when he's fully healthy, you got reminded.
Yeah, we had multiple conversations in groups on Twitter, different things.
Like, has Tim Beck lost it?
About what was going on with this offense. And I think it's very clear.
Yeah.
When they don't have a healthy running quarterback, this offense loses a dynamic part of it.
Yeah.
You have to have a quarterback that can run.
Yeah.
So many times through this game, Pavia scrambled, picked up a tough first down. And that was what was missing after the Bama game. He was clearly hurt.
Yeah.
This whole team, in my opinion, the last half of the year was hurt.
Yeah, everybody.
The whole team was whatever. If you've played college football 25, when they show the wear and tear, the whole team was red.
Yeah, except for the head. Everybody was red.
That was what it felt like. And this game was like a re-energized Vanderbilt team. So I'm using Pavia as the initial jumping off point, but he's an example.
You saw it with Stowers as well.
I think Cedric Alexander was still a little beat up. I don't think
so
he's
too.
100% healthy, but a majority of this team was healthy and rested.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is any doubt what Pavia is capable of when he is healthy, this offense can be special.
Mhm.
This team can be special. So I know that's your number
That was
one
literally
as well.
that was literally my number one key takeaway was we were reminded what a healthy Diego Pavia can do.
Perfect.
That was my number one.
Well, we already ran through the box score for a while. We've had a long episode already. So this is
Hot dog, dude. I mean, hey, haven't had a bowl game in a winning season in 10 years. We weren't even adults the last time Vanderbilt did this.
I was in high school.
Yeah, we were 17. Yeah.
My number two, since that's both of our number ones.
Hell, we might have the same number two.
So that was very positive. My number two is Vanderbilt really, really, really needs more at running back and wide receiver. All I kept thinking that whole game, and me and my dad kept talking about it, my brother as well, kept talking about if Vanderbilt had Jamal Haynes, what this offense would look like. And I'm not a Cedric Alexander hater.
Yeah.
I think he can be a great guy to split carries, can be your every down. They need a guy with game-breaking speed.
Uh-huh.
They need a Jamal Haynes. And that's what this offense, the last key pieces they are missing are one more guy to complement. Like Junior Sherrill would be a great wide receiver 2 with a legit wide receiver 1 over there that's a burner.
Mm-hmm.
That just has breakaway speed that these teams cannot play 8 in the box. They can't have single high safety because you have Sherrill and you have another burner.
Mm-hmm.
And they need that, and they need a game-breaking running back.
Yeah.
And they won this game, but the entire time I kept thinking, man, they have the line is good enough. They have the quarterback. They have the tight end. They have some support pieces in depth at running back. They have depth at receiver. They just need those 2 stars.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's really easy to say. Every team is looking for that. But
Yeah.
if Chance Fitzgerald can come in and be that, if Trent Hudson could be what he was for Pavia at New Mexico State at the SEC level, a deep ball guy,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're missing. And it's so close. And they're just missing that explosive running back.
Yeah.
So they need to do something this offseason in the second window of the transfer portal.
I think, too, before I get to my key number 2, I agree with you. I think what's interesting, though, is it's not to the extent of the old smash and dash Chris Johnson, Lindell White.
Yep.
But I think to an extent, AJ Newberry and Seti complement each other because both can do well what the other necessarily can't. So, like, I think AJ Newberry has really good speed. He didn't get to show it off that much, but just watching his tape in high school, like, I mean, kid could run the ball. And Cedric Alexander is great catching the ball out of the backfield. So I think that hurt a little bit not having the complimentary back in AJ Newberry, but I do agree. I think we just long for another Keyshawn Vaughn. But once again, like those guys are a dime a dozen. You know what I mean? But no, I do agree with that. My key takeaway number 2 is something I put on Twitter, and it's something that before the season started, I said this kid's going to be a game wrecker if they give him snaps. Demarion Thomas was a monster on the interior of that defense. Like Demarion Thomas wreaked havoc. His stats might not show it, but he was collapsing that interior of the offensive line. Got a big play whenever Georgia Tech was on the, I believe, 3, handed off, crushed the center, came right through that gap, got a tackle for loss. I think that kid is going to be the truth next year, and he showed flashes. I really, really like his game.
I like you talked about defense because I had my first 2 keys written down.
Mm-hmm.
My third key was fluctuating, but now I know where it's going. So this is a not specific to the game, but a broader takeaway. This defense in this game against Georgia Tech showed me that next season, with the additions they have made, Mark Davis coming in at cornerback, some more depth, Jalen Lackey, Martell Height, Brandon Fontenette coming back, Carson Lawrence coming in,
Langston.
Dante Carter coming back, Brian Longwell, Nick Rinaldi, defensive line, Corday Sidnor. They have Keanu Zaylen Wood coming back. He was my next one I was about to say. There is a lot of talent on this defense. And what I took away from this game, they started playing really deep shell coverage late in the game that skewed some of the stats. But if this defense and the guys they picked up in the portal can hit, this defense can be the best defense we have seen. It can be better, just as good or better than those prime Derek Mason defenses you saw. And paired with that is going to be an actual competent offense.
Yes.
And that can be unjokingly, non-hyperbolically, that is what makes me the most excited I've ever been about a Vanderbilt football team coming back.
Yeah.
This team has a chance to be the most talented and best team Vanderbilt has ever had.
Yes.
And is it going to go that way? You never know in the SEC. You can be incredibly talented and go 6-6, 7-5.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that can happen. This team has potential to be great. And that is not something you could ever say about Vanderbilt teams of the past. This team has a chance to be special. You don't often have a complete turnaround in modern college football like this and return almost everyone.
Yeah.
That is very rare. So that was my takeaway, was seeing how many guys made key plays and going, he's coming back. That guy's coming back. He's back next year.
Yeah.
That guy's back. That was a lot of my reaction was, whoa, there is a lot. This team should be better than this team this year.
Yeah.
That's the part that I kept, that this is not the mountaintop. Vanderbilt is building a base
sustainable.
of success. And I think that some of the anger, getting back to the rant I went on earlier, you're seeing is there's a weird psychological aspect of, this year, everybody was rooting for Vanderbilt outside of Tennessee fans. You saw a lot of that. You saw, I'm happy to see them do well.
They were the nation's darling.
They were a sweetheart.
Yeah.
This year, if Vanderbilt comes out and starts out hot and has success and beats teams they're not supposed to beat early, they're not America's sweetheart. They're not the sweetheart of the SEC anymore. Of course, some disassociated fan bases like Mississippi State, Kentucky, Arkansas, they'll pull for Vanderbilt. But the Auburn, LSU, the team, Arkansas, the teams that feel that they're just better than Vanderbilt, and they just know that Vanderbilt's the basement, they're a mid-tier SEC team, they got that to hang their hat on. Once Vanderbilt starts threatening that and bumping them down to they're the basement now, you're going to start seeing more hate and fan bases shooting. That's a good sign.
Embrace it, yes.
That's a good sign. The fact that you don't have fan bases saying, oh, I'm just rooting for them to do well.
Yes.
That's a good sign, because you do not see that from other fan bases for the most part. So that's kind of a very broad.
Yeah.
But I think you're having the reality setting in once Pavia got ruled eligible. You're starting to see that some people love him, but on the other side of that love coin is a lot of hate. And that's going to be amplified. He got a lot of love this year for 90 to 95% of what he received with love this year. This next season is going to be more 50-50, 40-60 love and hate. So I know Pavia feeds on it, but he's about to experience it at SEC level. So that's a very broad number 3. But this Phoebe hair is getting in my nose.
She's made.
Oh my God.
But it's like you always say, man, like the subtle disrespect of low expectations, like – it is disrespectful for teams or for other fan bases to always be like, oh, well, when they're not playing my team, I hope Vanderbilt does well. Like, that is disrespectful. And I would like to get back to the Franklin era of teams didn't like Vanderbilt. Like, people hated on Vanderbilt. Like, people hated on Vanderbilt fans. People like, Vanderbilt fans are kind of cocky. Like, this team's kind of cocky. No, that is a good thing. And that is something that, like, we should embrace and that we should be happy about.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, screw being America's sweetheart. You know what I mean? Like, no, embrace the sort of villain aspect.
You still will be. That's the big part. Is if
in the national
you
media.
Still will be the America's sweetheart on Twitter and on social media and within the SEC. That is where it will fall.
Yes,
is you will start to receive a lot more hate. You will start to receive a lot more, and you won't have the same attacks because if Vanderbilt succeeds like Indiana, they have the schedule to back it up.
Yeah,
but SEC was a very fun story until they made the CFP.
Yeah.
And then you saw major hate.
Yep.
Is you saw teams attacking them saying they don't fucking deserve to be here. That's what you'll start seeing.
Yeah.
And that's the best sign
that
for
you're
your
making progress. That's a sign that you're making progress.
You're angering the powers that be.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
You're shaking
Vanderbilt
things up.
is on that path. The more hate, the better. Let's keep it rolling. We talked about that going into the 2023 season. Let's start acting like an SEC fan base.
Yeah.
Let's bring that back.
Yeah.
Let's start acting like an SEC fan base. Defend your guys.
Yep.
Know they are going to get shit on. Make a couple more burner accounts, boys.
TDR. Join the burner verse.
Yeah, TDR fans out there. You know, I already have to run the TDR account and my personal account, so I can't dabble into the burner verse. I would love to. Trevor would love to, but he already has a semi-burner and helps out with TDR tweets. But TDR listeners, almost every single fan of opposing fans has their account. They got at least one burner running around there. Yeah. So, think about that.
Have a little fun on the
Peacock,
internet.
maybe. I don't know. Let's just think of some names.
Yeah, have a little fun on the internet, guys.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
It's okay. We don't have to be the old classy Vanderbilt anymore.
No.
There's a new young generation that is taking over,
And
and
now
it's okay to be a little rowdy.
Yeah. And I feel like there is a certain percentage, a good majority percentage of the older Vanderbilt fans that like what they are seeing.
My dad is one of those. Yeah, my dad's like
that. Is just like, yes, they've seen more success and they're embracing it, saying, yes, let's build on this. These guys haven't been soiled too badly by Vanderpast. We have seen enough, but it's like the 5-ish years younger than us. Yeah. That's the prime target audience because they've seen the Franklin era. That was their formative years. They've seen the Mason era of being competitive in their high school years. And now in their college / recently graduated years, they see the Clark Lee era.
Yeah.
That's why the success needs to continue.
Yep.
That's what TDR is for. Well, also we're for all the fans.
Well, yeah,
we're for everyone.
We're for the blue hairs, and we're here for the newborns.
18 to 88.
Yeah,
or
dude.
108. R.I.P. Jimmy Carter.
Dude, I had a high school kid come up to me and be like, "Dude, I love TDR," and I'm like,
I know,
you
but
shouldn't
I don't
be
know
listening.
I don't know if legally, we're allowed to say 8 to 88.
Yeah,
so I'm just gonna say 18.
Yeah, we appreciate the love. But my key number 3, once again, very broad, not really about this game, but more about the season. Is, dude, shout out to Clark Lee. Shout out to Clark Lee. For addressing his shortcomings in previous seasons and owning up to it and saying, hey, if this program needs to get better, then things have to change with me first and foremost. I'm going to have to take over defensive play calling. I'm going to have to bring in a guy like Jerry Kill. We're going to have to completely revamp the offense, bring in a guy like Tim Beck. Dude, shout out to Clark Lee. And it's like you said, man, it's always been hard for me, and I've hated on Clark Lee a good bit in the past. Like I think last year I even sent out a tweet from like, dude, you got to fire the guy. But I mean, like we've said, like we're fans, we're passionate, like we say fan stuff, but it's like you've always wanted him to succeed more than you, as weird as it sounds, more than you even wanted Mason to succeed or more than you even wanted Franklin to succeed. Because it's like, yeah, he's like one of your own, and you're happy to have one of your own come back. And have one of your own come back and succeed. Like, it's special. Like, I know it. We know it means something to him, but like, man, it means something to us too to know that, hey, this guy understands it, and this guy isn't going. Like, it's nice to win a bowl and not have to worry if your coach is going to leave.
Something. It was the main issue with Jerry Stackhouse's tenure, which has now just been proven to be completely justified by what Mark Byington has done in one majorly shortened offseason, where he didn't even get to fully scout these guys. It was clear that Jerry Stackhouse just didn't care.
Yeah.
And the care factor of him just doing his job, he didn't. My voice cracked. Him just doing his job, he didn't care.
Rather be golfing.
Now, James Franklin was different. James Franklin clearly cared about his job and doing a good job and winning.
Yeah.
That's a very different concern.
Yeah.
But the question was always, does he care about Vanderbilt necessarily? And that's a very valid question to ask.
Yeah.
Because he was a young, up-and-coming head coach, was just at Maryland before that as those. You knew he probably wasn't going to be here long term. That's the difference now.
Yeah.
Is this is personal to Clark Lee. His family is here. This is where he wants to be. He went to school here. He played here.
Yeah.
This is a guy that is going to stick with this program if you stick with him. And it's just we had the real discussions like, can we do this again, man? Because we were so bought in.
Last year we had some rough discussions, like just on the couch,
not even like, are we going to be able to buy into a new coach, but like, or we were so bought in, but it's like we just wanted Clark Lee and Barton to work so bad.
Yeah, we're like, is it possible that anyone
can do it? Because these guys are poor. They're very smart guys pouring everything into it, and it's just not working.
Yeah.
And so obviously smart guys can get it figured out because they pivoted completely and have experienced success, and now we are looking forward to the upcoming season. So shout out to them, but also that's our 3 keys. That's basically a recap of the game. Something just popped up on your screen.
Oh, it's just telling me that it's time to clean my Mac.
Okay, cool. We also need to just say really quickly before we close it out, keep your eyes out for some very big news being announced when this is released, probably in the next 48 hours or so. Very big news that I think a lot of people will be very excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will be not very excited about. We will discuss this a lot more in detail when we are allowed to on the next episode when we are joined by Blake.
Mm-hmm.
But we have some very big news coming for the Door Report. Anybody that questioned where this was going or what we were doing, a lot of those questions will be answered over the next 48 hours.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean that's perfectly well put. Keep your eyes peeled on Twitter.
And you will have, this is the big part, and I don't want to step on any, this will clear up. We often get asked at tailgates and we get asked in DMs, how do we support TDR?
Mm-hmm.
They're not corporate sponsors, just people that want to support TDR. That will be cleared up in the next 48 hours.
You will get the answer.
You will know how to directly support TDR. Our content is only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever is sent out, nothing about this podcast is going to change.
No.
This podcast and what we do with TDR is going to remain exactly the same. The only thing you are going to get more of is just more
content.
Yeah, more content. Maybe not more podcast content, but more content. So everybody out there get a little excited. We got a big 2025 coming up for TDR and Vanderbilt athletics in general. So Phoebe is excited. She's rolled over.
Yeah.
Super excited over here. I'm going to post a behind the scenes picture.
Hell yeah. Her little pink belly.
But there's a lot to be excited about, including next episode, which is going to be our full 2024 Vanderbilt football season recap, joined by Vanderbilt offensive line legend Blake Fromang,
and tight end legend
Blake Fromang, and TDR's attorney allegedly TDR's attorney Blake Fromang. So a lot to look forward to in 2025. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
Do you have anything you want to add here?
No, we just love you guys. Who's got it better than us?
Who's got it better than us?
Nobody.
We will talk to you all next year. For myself, Will Byrum, and my co-host, Trevor Hulan, this has been episode 296 of The Door Report, powered by 615 Collect.